Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Conversations with Anasa. So happy to see you this morning. So let's start with meditation. Take your attention inside, down below your belly button. And from there, feel for relaxation in your total body. But holding your attention there. And see if you can allow your mind to occupy that space below your belly button. Understanding that the awareness to be found in our gut is at least as valuable as the one between our ears. That makes exploring that place really an important part of being a human being. And now very consciously drop your awareness into the space between the breaths and what you are feeling for is that place deep within ourselves that is beyond all harm, all damage, all anything that is the source of our life. Part of us that is completely sacred. And now allow all experience to drop away, except for that space. And now feel into how lucky we are to know that that space exists in every human being, that sacred space. And in this moment, it's the only thing that's important. Everything else can be important later. But for now, just feel into that sacred space. Breathe into it. Allow it to expand. Or not. If it wants to stay small, that's also fine. As much as you can, allow yourself to be that. And now we'll just be quiet in that space for a while. Try to hold your attention down below your belly button. It'll want to zip back up between your ears. And now holding your attention inside in sacred space. Below your belly button. When you're ready, slowly and gently open your eyes. We welcome your questions this morning. I'm so happy to be here.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I'm so happy to see you. I am so moved and thankful to know that we each have a sacred space within us. I don't necessarily have to go to the Anasa temple to reach that sacred space. It's miraculous that to know that it's within me and it's available at all times. And also that it's true for each one of us, even people who aren't so nice.
It's true
And
for everybody.
I just, for me, that's just a miracle to get that. And you know, I think of that old saying that your body is a temple, which I don't know. I just never really took that seriously or thought about it too much. But it's a reality. I I think it's wonderful. So I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about the eclipse.
So,
I know it's over, but
so
it has its residual effects.
it has residual effects. Eclipses always have residual effects.
Yeah.
So the eclipse isn't particularly about the day that it happens. The events that roll out after an eclipse have to do with location. The locations where eclipses happen become vulnerable to the transits that happen after that. And I mean, that's way oversimplified of what happens, but eclipses are karmic events for humanity that excite transformation. So we can think about it that way, that it's a time of transformation visiting. And if we think about the transformative events in our lives, they usually are not the things that we remember the most fondly. I mean, sometimes they are like, well, I don't know. I was thinking for myself, marriage. But, it's a transformative event and it becomes a karmic event that unfolds over time. Beginning new jobs, new beginnings and endings are always transformative times. And eclipses tend to sometimes promote earthly upheavals like earthquakes, storms, volcanoes, things like that get activated along the path of eclipses. that can happen. So whether an eclipse touches your life, very indirectly or very directly has a lot to do with location. But, along the path of an eclipse, not every location has significant events, but some locations do. And we never know what. And the why of it is we can think of it like planets in our way are like gravity. Each planet is known as a graha, and that word in English means grasp. So they are energetic points that accumulate matter. And since that matter has accumulated into a planet, it has a gravitational pull, and it interacts with our sun and our moon directly, and it affects our planet. It interacts with us. And so, the ancient sages who had time to stare at the sky, and because of where they lived, they had a unique perspective of darkness, and they didn't have any electrical light to disturb their viewing, and they were able to put together the planetary movements with the behavior of human beings and the world itself. And the fact that they were able to do that with any degree of clarity is beyond imagination. So the way it's explained in the textbooks is that there are different periods of human existence. A period of where everyone is enlightened, and a period where many less people are enlightened, and then a period where even less people are enlightened, and then a period where even less people are enlightened. So there are these 4 periods that are.
Is now.
Well, there's debate about whether it's now, because technologically we're becoming so advanced that it's possible that with the invention of electricity, we actually moved into the second stage of evolution the third stage rather than being in the fourth. The Kali Yuga is the fourth. And so when all knowledge is lost, which is in the Kali Yuga, they're called yugas each stage. And when all knowledge is lost, that's the Kali Yuga. And so the capacity to calculate the length of the yugas is a debate. And so we're either in the fourth or the third. But that doesn't mean that enlightenment is unavailable to an individual. And I've had several discussions with my teachers about whether one can live an enlightened life within a particular yuga. And I think the answer is yes, that one can. And because enlightenment is a question of perspective and access. And if you can keep your perspective in alignment with the highest best for the whole, and hold to your access to sacred space, that's a formula. And so the key word, which is really from Gangaji, the key word is vigilance. Vigilance to our own perspective and behavior, because we are responsible. That's what karma is. Karma is responsibility for action. And the best advice I have ever heard is to simplify our lives so that the upheaval that we experience becomes manageable. And it's interesting because, you know, it's certainly at a point in my life, I thought that the simplest thing I could do was move into an ashram and be with other people who were dedicated to the same simplicity and the same pursuit of awareness, only to discover everybody was crazy, including me. And that, you know, meditating twice a day was, in that context, was a great opportunity, really, because there was a focal point of a person with powerful energy. And, you know, I was fortunate enough to live in one side of it. Turns out there was another side that I didn't even know about. But that's a whole other story, and, you know, not so relevant because nobody here is in that exact situation. So really what's relevant is where we are in ourselves, always, whatever environment we have chosen to live in or has been chosen for us. You know, we don't always get to choose our circumstance. Actually, the more we understand about the variables in our lives, the more we see that we have very little choice about most things. They happen because there's a certain kind of pattern that is expressing itself, usually within and around us. So in that context, eclipses are, you know, events outside of us that provide strong energy that informs us of our own unresolved karma, depending on how close it is to patterns in our own horoscope that resonate with it. So for me, in this moment, it's important because it's right on top of one of my planets, Saturn. And Saturn has a lot to do with spirituality. So hopefully it's a good thing.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So this eclipse that just happened is right on top of, it happened at 27, well, it happened in Libra. Let's say that. Ketu in Libra. And Rahu is in Aries, and in a few days we'll be moving into Pisces as Ketu moves into Virgo, because the nodes of the moon move backwards in the horoscope. The nodes of the moon are called Chaya Grahas, which are shadow planets. They are points, they're eclipse points on the path of the sun around the earth. And they have power. That's probably way more than you wanted to know. How may we serve this morning? We agree with you that it's really great news that our salvation exists within us. How could it be otherwise? Truly.
Well, since we've been taught and socialized to think that it's not within us, that we always have to seek another source, that for me is why it's particularly miraculous, because you never seem to find the right source. Something always
Right.
goes awry with that source that's supposed to be your salvation.
Yes.
And so it's just,
Most
it's
of the
so
time it's
protective
centered
that it
around a
is.
patriarchy.
Yep, yep. And we're taught that unless we adhere to that patriarchy, we're lost. There's
Yeah.
no hope for us. We have
Yeah.
to surrender to that. So it's so, for me, miraculous to know that it is within us.
Absolutely it is. And we've probably all been killed numerous times for that knowledge.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if this has anything to do with the eclipse, but is there something that's going on in the heavens? Uh, I have a couple of very dear friends that are in dire straits health-wise.
Yes.
And I don't know, I'm just thinking, is this an eclipse related thing or?
Well, it's partly eclipse. It's also we're entering the dying zone of the year, which is late fall. It's pretty much November to February. People who can't make it through another year, through another winter, this is the time
Oh,
when they give up. They acknowledge that they're not going to make it through another winter, and they they die, consciously or unconsciously, because it takes energy to go through the dark of the night, the dark of the winter. So in this part of the earth, this is that time.
that's so interesting because I have had several people in my life die in the fall, and I always wonder what is that about? Good to know.
Yes, we're just not connected to our environment the harmony of our environment to know that that's the way the earth works. It dies and replenishes, and we're the same. We die to replenish the new.
Thank you again.
Yeah, denial doesn't really help us. It just means we're caught by surprise, which is sort of the last thing you want to happen as you face your own death, is a big surprise.
Well, we can't avoid that because we can't know when we're going to die, right?
Right.
So it's going to be a surprise.
Well, yes, but expanding into that place of awareness inside ourselves is expanding into source energy. And if you just imagine that that's what you are, that's what happens when you die. So it's not a big surprise knowing that. Now, the body has a different idea and a different agenda. So that agenda plays itself out. But that agenda is constantly playing itself out while we're alive. So, our attention is going back and forth to that which doesn't die, which is sacred space, and that which does, which is the body. And for a time, they occupy the same space. They appear to occupy the same space. But the more comfortable we are with our awareness in sacred space, the more comfortable we become with dying.
Thank you.
It helps to practice going to sleep from sacred space.
Oh, can you give us an example of what that what their
Look at any
practice is?
look at any animal in sleep. It's total relaxation.
Yeah.
Total trust. Because what's more trustworthy than sacred space? Nothing. Releasing ourselves into that which cannot be harmed. In a way, that's a definition of courage. And that's, some people do a practice where they say, I am that. And of course, what they're talking about is sacred space, which is nameless and formless. And you know, Bhavana Rako, hold the feeling. That's the same. Hold to sacred space within you. It's something that Nityananda, who was the beginning of a spiritual lineage, told people. Bhavana Rako, hold the feeling. And he was referring to the sacred space. He wanted students so little that he would throw stones at them, hoping they would go away. So personally, I can say that this eclipse field for me is a time of release, 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 release. Just let go of old patterns that have no meaning or value. And it's not a good time to start something new, the next little bit. It's a time to hunker down, be warm and quiet for a few days. It doesn't have to be for long. The acknowledgement of change in the air is, and today is the start of a big Indian celebration called Navaratri. And I don't know much about it, so I can't really say. But it's a big goddess worship time. How may we serve further?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, everybody. Well, there's some very strong changes going on in me. And of course, with the eclipse, it's like, wow, I could just kind of very, very apparent. And a few months back, uh, well, there's been some friends and family member that have been pushing on me, and I have really given so much in my life. And so basically, I just, well, I'm coming up for surgery and haven't been feeling well. But I realize um, I have an energy to give to anyone who've been particularly needy, or a friend that has lost all her other friends. And so, and I didn't realize that before until basically I had to just run punk out of energy. And it just, I went, oh my God, I don't have a bit to give, like not one drop.
Mm-hmm.
And so it hasn't gone over well with, as you can imagine. So, and it's,
You told the truth.
I did. Oh my God. And it didn't go over great. But my one for dear friend for 40 years just hung up on me. And I just, so anyway, I it has felt good, but I feel kind of lost. But it feels an interesting time for the eclipse. But it's like my body is just can't do what it has done in the past, and might have taken me having to get sick to just like really be in my body and be truthful. So it's very curious. It's just very curious and a good timing. So uh
Well, what I'm noticing with the eclipse is that things are just getting cut.
ah
Mental ideas that I had about that have been repeating for
mhm,
many
forever.
decades, many
Yeah,
decades.
yeah,
Suddenly,
yeah,
oh, that's not true.
yes,
The sudden realization that's just false. I've been
right.
telling myself that forever,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you a word of advice that my acupuncturist is constantly telling me.
Good.
She says, live at 80% and
Ah,
keep 20% to build back.
oh, so talk
I,
more
like
into
you,
that.
I, like you, tend to live at 100%. At the end of the day,
Oh,
I'm like,
so
gone.
hold back the 20%
Yes.
for sure for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 And it's kind
You
of
might
like
need to hold back 50%
I
to
may for a
grow your
while.
20%.
Yeah. So, well, that's great. That's what I'm realizing, and it really had to kick me in the pants to clearly realize that I've like given it away. So
Well,
there's
and
not,
you've been giving from an empty tank for a long
I
time.
have, I have. And so some of my gears inside went clink, clink, and it like told me. And I went, oh, wow, that's, that's pretty strong message.
Well, we suggest that you inform people that they actually have the resource they need within them.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my
Rather,
one friend is not getting back with me, and
yeah.
maybe with her hanging up is I I sit all I we correspond a little bit, but I pretty much basically told her I just don't have anything right now.
that sounds like a very parasitic relationship.
Yes, I noticed that quite. Yeah. And I felt I was being humble a lot of times in talking with her, but I realized no, I probably didn't have the courage. And there were times I could truly speak honestly into her, but she was fairly controlling. So anyway, what a way to learn. And so
Well, congratulations. You know, that's a hard one. It's really a hard one
it
because
was, yeah,
we have this idea that we're here to serve.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was problematic. So anyway,
Yeah,
third
we
time's a charm.
choose our
Charm.
masters carefully.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yes. Yeah. So,
What and who we are serving for what cause.
yeah,
Really important.
right. Really, really
And
important. I get it now.
so it's an invitation to make your choices really conscious.
Yes.
So we all sort of learned, I don't know if for you it was Christian, but certainly I learned that service was, you know, the infallible solution to everything.
Right.
And in a
Well,
way that's true,
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but it's important to choose because we do have responsibility for our choices.
Yes, we do. Yeah, it was powerful resonance, boy. So I'm I'm pretty much adapting to that, and my body keeps telling me that. So I don't feel like I have to fix anything. I mean, I had a dream we shared months back with another girlfriend, and you asked me, it was about this little black baby that I was trying to save, and you asked me, and we were on this cliff, and there was disaster, and you asked me if the baby was pulled from me or if I dropped it, and I said, it was pulled. It was pulled from me. So I, you said, well, then that's not your business, or that was God pulling that from you. So I sort of feel like the hang up on me was, yeah, clear message. So um, anyway,
It's hard to allow these things to go.
yeah, but it was really important. It's been clear with me, and I'm so anyway. Just certainly with the eclipse and all things have been stirred up, but so I'm just meditating and trying to hold my space and being gentle, and yeah, and there's been a lot I haven't been allowed myself to really take part in. Um, so but anyway, thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And, you know, give yourself credit for the fact that you live in awareness of sacred space.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
Yes, I, and in this program, and you have been a big part for me in my growth and understanding in the depth. I'm so appreciative. Yeah.
Oh, you're totally welcome. But, you know, don't deny yourself the accomplishment of
Thank you.
being able to hold that.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I'm growing up. I'm growing in and up. Thanks.
Mhm. I mean, really, we notice that in everybody on this program, the growing capacity to be aware of and to hold to sacred space. And we all lose it and get it and lose it and find it and lose it. That's, eh, but once you understand that it's really there, then that's just, inhaling and exhaling. It's not ever lost.
I find that in nature, even stepping outside and when I feel cleared, and I just feel so much from the universal energy just in things and around me, and it's just so my alliance is heading is keeping that more and more alive in me because it's just beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Yes.
Just to add to that, having this happen, having being able to be with you and people where that's our focus is such a reinforcement of 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 that, sacred space. And yeah, because when you lose it, you really do lose it. You don't just breathe out and say, well, it's just gone for a second. I know it'll be back. You don't know it'll be back, so just to have that keeping on being reinforced makes it easier to get through those moments of being lost, even though you are truly lost, or I am,
Mm-hmm.
at times. So just thank
Definitely been there.
you. Yeah,
All of us.
yeah. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Fine. How are you?
I'm good. I just wanted to share because this was incredibly important for me to be here today, and I didn't even understand why, but I blew off a bunch of stuff to be able to be here to tune in with all of you. I've been traveling a lot and driving, and I was coming from Colorado through Utah, and I kept seeing all these signs on the side of the road warning about the eclipse, that the eclipse was going to be here, and to be careful and to plan your travel time. And I couldn't understand why there were all these warnings. So as I'm driving, I asked Siri, what's going on? Why should I be afraid of this eclipse? And it said all kinds of things about increased traffic, and to allow extra time and things. I'm going, well, okay, that's this level, but I'm kind of wanting to know, at a different level. So as I'm driving, I'm watching, everybody around me, and all of a sudden the traffic starts getting very erratic, and everyone's changing lanes, and everybody's speeding up, and other people are slowing down, and it's getting completely chaotic. And I'm thinking, what the heck happened? Everybody was in this flow and now it's all chaotic. And I went, oh crap, I asked a question. you know? And it's like, I thought that's what this eclipse is about too for me, is watching and being careful, like you were saying, going within yourself and asking the questions from within your sacred space. Because if we're just too willy-nilly and we start asking things and then we start noticing them happening, it can throw us off, and we can forget everything that we've been studying and talking about and learning all year, because it is the time of going into the dark. And so today I come here and I tune in, and every one of you once again has brought something up that was directly related to something I've been thinking about before I even turned on all this. So I'm just sitting here kind of laughing within myself because I always forget how much everybody collectively brings to the table on these Sunday mornings for me. And I just wanted to take this opportunity, since we are where we are and we are trying to be honest within ourselves, to give so much gratitude to all of you for showing up and for being here and being such a huge part, whether you even know me or not, of my journey. And it's a very selfish thank you, but it's also a very heartfelt big thank you, because you guys really answer all my questions every week, whether you know it or not, because our journeys are so linked. And
Absolutely.
I'm constantly amazed and amused by this. And I think the amusement sometimes is what gets me to tune in again, because it's like, what's going to happen this week? Because I get my mini preview by sitting here with all of you. So thank you. You are all directly in alignment with my growth, and you're so important to me. Thank you so much.
Mhm. Yes.
I just wanted to say what you said about the traffic. Just yesterday, I was just going to my daughter's house, which isn't that far away, but between my house and her house, so many crazy things happening. People running red lights. At one point, there was a crazy woman. Well, I'm not even going to call her crazy, but she was just wandering through the intersection in front of all the cars. You know, I think she was tuned into something else, some other some other world, really. But it was like that. I feared for not just myself, but for everyone, because it seemed like everyone was affected by it. So that was probably an eclipse event, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, it's happening. We'll use present tense. In the house of the moon, that is is influenced by the second most powerful star uh, in the sky that I know of in the nakshatras. So my knowledge of astronomy is very minimal. But this star is called Spica. And it's actually two stars that are very close together, but it informs this nakshatra, this house of the moon, called Chitra. And the symbol is a jewel. And the deity that occupies this house of the moon is Tvastar, the celestial architect. And this star is so powerful, it's used as the location point, because exactly 180 degrees opposite to it is taken as the beginning of Aries. So it's a marker star for the beginning of the horoscope, 180 degrees opposite. So it's a very powerful place in the sky that this we'll say it's a karmic event for humanity. That's what eclipses are. And because karma is unknowable, they're always mysterious. And one end of the eclipse is known as Rahu, and Rahu is insatiable desire. Rahu wants to eat everything in the material world. So when Rahu is the most powerful energy in our own field, then we want to experience material life more than anything. And the opposite of Rahu is Ketu, which is the planet of enlightenment. And so Ketu doesn't pay any attention to materialism and is interested in spirit, the ethereal. But it's also considered the planet of loss because it's the loss of the material. And so anything in our material life can just disappear under the influence of Ketu. So we would like to think of it as wonderful and all about moksha, but both of these poles are, they're beyond good and bad. They just are polar opposites of karmic pull into the material and into the spiritual. And eclipses are when the sun and the moon cross these points. Mhm.
This just makes me think of the warring that's going on right now in Israel and Palestine, and this awful.
Yeah, it's
stuff.
karmic.
Yeah.
It's all based in history.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. It's so amazing, but breath is really our most precious gift. And using our breath to access sacred space is most often the quickest way in. Slowing down our breath, feeling for the space between the breaths, dropping ourselves into that regardless of what else is going on in our mind, trying to take our mind out of the space between our ears and into the space below the belly button. Holding to love. herself.
Excuse me, everybody. I know that this is very bizarre to break in like this, but as I was contemplating my being and all of you, I realized that I'd like to take up a collection of love and support to offer to Nancy right now. I I got the feeling that another week was survivable, but on an empty tank. And I know from my own experience, this weekend was one of the most draining ordeals that I've experienced. We had a visitor who invited themselves and are way out on the autism spectrum and just kept going and kept going and kept talking and from the head. And I realized I had to replenish myself over and over again by remembering my joy and just breathing on the front porch. And that's people unconsciously take energy if you let them. And it's not their fault. It just happens. But we do need to be replenished, and we can only do so much ourselves. And a lot depends on the love and support of the spiritual group that you're part of, and we are a part of. And I love you, Nancy. I don't know you, but I want to let you know I am one of your best friends. And thank you for always sharing your heart.
Thank you. Thank you so very, very much. You're all beautiful, folks, and appreciate that. And I am doing so much better because I'm getting some super loud messages. So, and thank you.
Thank you all so much for sharing this heart space. Mm. We're so touched to be here with you. Thank you so much. Till next time.